What's going on, everybody? Dots Gaming here, and today I have a class spec tier list for fun and enjoyment in World of Warcraft. Before I get into this, I do just want to preface this with this is just completely my opinion on my experience from the different specializations and the different classes. I'm also just going to I haven't played every spec and every class in the game, so for the ones I haven't played, I'm going to pretty much just kind of approach it from a do I like the theme and do I think it looks fun perspective. But I thought, I'm just doing some for fun tier list this week, and how could I do fun tier list if I literally didn't do a tier list on what classes I think are fun? Now, again, this is just my opinion. I know everyone's got their own different likes and dislikes when it comes to classes in WoW. But this is going to be my personal list. I'm going to probably just go randomly here and probably hit classes that I know I like immediately. And then from there, kind of go down the rest of the way. So the first couple of S-tier classes for me in terms of the ones that I enjoy. Now, this is for fun. This is not from a power perspective. And you're going to notice when I start with my first class. My current main, Feral Druid. I love playing Feral and I love playing Druids, and for me it's an S tier in terms of just enjoyment. Druids just got like a lot of little convenience things that you don't really realize until you're playing on a different class. Being able to shift in and out of the different forms is extremely enjoyable. Instantaneous flying and mount. You move really quick when you're in cat form. You have stealth, you have healing, you have really good dot pressure, good burst. It's just such a fun spec. I just really wish Blizzard would buff the dots of this dang spec, because we're so bad right now because our dots are weak. But when the dots of Feral Druid are in a respectable spot, it is probably my favorite class in the game to play. It can just do a lot of different things, and it is one of the true hybrids in World of Warcraft, and for that reason, for me, it is absolutely going to be an S tier class. I just love everything it has to offer. My next class that I'm gonna do is probably Guardian Druid. I recently just started picking up tanking again from a PvE perspective, simply because Feral Druid is kind of poo-poo in PvE, and I don't want to be borrowing and stealing in order to get into like groups for Mythic Plus and raids. So I took up tanking, and I must say, I do like Guardian so far, and for me, it's definitely an A tier. It's not the most complex spec to play. It's pretty straightforward in terms of its gameplay, so it can be a little, sometimes it could be a little tedious, but overall for me, especially being a relatively newer tank, I think the simplicity is almost kind of better in a way, just because it's really straightforward to play, lots of passive mitigation. Again, I do, just like I said with Feral Druid, I do like a lot of the conveniences that Druid just has to offer. I'm actually going to go class by class, I think, at this point. I like a lot of the conveniences that Druid has to offer. Again, like I said, with just shifting in and out of the different forms and gaining those benefits, and feeling like I can provide so much more to a group besides just the role that I'm playing. It really is a good hybrid class. So for that reason, I do like Guardian, putting it at an A tier. The next spec is going to be Boomkin. Never really played a Boomkin. It's kind of gone through a lot of different iterations, and I don't know, man. For me, I think it's like a C. There's nothing about Balanced Druid personally that's really kind of ever stuck out to me like, wow, if I was going to play a caster, there's definitely other casters I would play before I played Balanced Druid. I think some of their mechanics can be a little just like meh. Like, there's nothing I really overly enjoy about the spec. I don't know. It's never tickled my fancy in any way. Whenever I play a Druid, if I have a choice between playing Boomkin or Feral, I'm gonna choose Feral 10 out of 10 times. And if I'm gonna play, like, if I'm gonna play a ranged DPS, I'm just gonna play a different class personally. So for that reason, Boomkin's just a C tier. It's just never really appealed to me. I don't know why. It's just never been my thing. Just looking at the mechanics of the class, I don't know. I just don't think it looks super fun. But, it's still a Druid, so it's not going to be all the way at the bottom. So for me, bam, C. In terms of Restoration Druid, there's definitely other healers I would play before I played a Resto Druid. Resto Druid looks pretty fun, but for me, I think there's definitely one or two other healers I would play before I played a Resto Druid. So for that reason, I'm going to stick them at a B. Probably my third favorite healer. So I do like the whole HOTS deal. You know, I am Dots Gaming, so obviously I like dot damage. And, you know, rest of Druid's basically the opposite with more hot focused gameplay. Again, still has all of the Druid conveniences that I do really like and enjoy. But I don't know. There's just other healers that I think I would enjoy a little bit more just due to how they're designed. But Druid is a good mid-tier healer for me. You know, I like the whole hot focused gameplay. I do think it's pretty cool. Again, you have all the Druid conveniences like I just said. And so for that, just a very solid healer for me, going to be at a B. Next class we're going to move on is a, let's do Shadow Priest. Shadow Priest for me, especially the new Shadow Priest rework, I think looks really, really good. It's definitely a callback to its old version in Mists of Pandaria when I did play it, the Builder Spender with Devouring Plague. Lots of big dot pressure, Mind Flay to just rot them down too while you are rotting them down. I just said rot so many times. But it just, the new iteration of Shadow Priest looks super, super fun. I don't like it as much as my Feral Druid, but I do think it is an extremely fun class. And so for that, it's going to be an A tier for me. It's just really, really good. The part of the reason it also isn't as S is because my S tier classes typically are going to be pretty decent at most things, and Shadow Priest is just super not fun in 2s, and that was one of the things that I like to mess around in 2s every now and then, and Shadow Priest in 2s is a miserable experience. So that prevents it from being an S class for me, but overall, it is really, really fun. Discipline Priest. Oof, Discipline Priest. For me is a big ol' F. I know some people absolutely love Disc Priest. One of my brother plays a Disc Priest. I know the class is really good. It's really strong, but it's not the way I would ever want to heal. I would always choose to heal from direct healing and kind of more reactive gameplay as opposed to proactive gameplay. I mean, I know you have to be a little bit proactive with the HOTS, but for me, I can this is just totally a me thing. I can feel like I could wrap my head around the HOTS more with the Druid than with the shields from the Priest. The Priest also doesn't have any big oh shit cooldowns. They're very easily tunneled. I've just never been a big fan of Disc. If I was to heal on a Priest, it would probably be Unholy, even though it's like not the best. And I have tried healing on Holy before. It was okay. I didn't love it. It wasn't my favorite, but I did like it more than Disc. So for that reason, it's going to be a D for me. Again, I don't know. There's just something about the Priest healing specs I'm just not a fan of. If I was to heal, I would heal on a different class. Again, there's going to be 2 other classes. I'll probably hit my 2 other healers now since we've kind of just done a bunch of healing specs right in a row. And then I'll hit the other parts of those classes. So if I was to play a healer, and I'm actually leveling one right now, Mistweaver Monk. I think Mistweaver Monks look cool as hell. They're really, really mobile. The rotation is super straightforward. They have a nice oh shit cooldown via Life Cocoon. I don't know why, whenever I see someone healing, and if I ever think about, okay, you know, I want to play a healer, what do I want to do? Mistweaver Monk is just always one of the first ones that I feel like I would really enjoy. I think part of the reason too is because it's part of the reason why I like Guardian Druid. I actually think I'll put it on A right here next to Guardian. I think it's part of the reason why I like Guardian Druid, where it's a support spec that's relatively straightforward and has a lot of really good conveniences about it. Well, especially for me with Mistweaver, one of the big things is the mobility. I really like playing mobile specs, like when they're like in terms of like my most favorite specs. That's why Feral Druid is like my number 1. I mean, I know Shadow Priest is like the antithesis of mobile. But I like playing specs that either are mobile or have ways to kind of keep people there. I just like Shadow Priest just because, I don't know, I have a lot of nostalgia for it because I played it a lot in Mists of Pandaria. But Mistweaver having the mobility, I think, is really, really cool, and is something that I very, very much do enjoy about it. Plus, I don't know, I think the whole theme of the Mistweaver is really, really awesome. My next healer that I would play, which is also going to probably go on the same tier, but a little bit lower, I'm probably going to put Holy Paladin. You know what? I'm actually going to move Guardian and Mistweaver up to S just because these are the classes I'm like currently like actually playing right now. And so they are the ones I obviously do enjoy the most. Holy Paladin, I've also think looks really, really cool. It's not as mobile as Mistweaver. It's actually one of the least mobile healing specs, but I love the whole Templar Paladin theme. I like the fact that they have so many different, oh crap, cooldowns that they can tap into if they need them. And it just looks like an insanely cool healer. I do think, though, if I was to play one, I would enjoy the Mistweaver more, though, just from the sake of mobility. And I feel like I would just be better at it. But Holy Pally does look like a really, really fun healer and would definitely be my my second choice for healing. I guess if we want to go into other specs, I think we could hit the tank specs next. I can tell you there's a bunch of tank specs for me are going to be very hit or miss. One I recently tried that I actually do think is super cool. I really, really like Vengeance Demon Hunter. I've been leveling a character with my wife, and she is playing a Destruction Lock, and so I started playing a Demon Hunter, and we were trying to fight this elite out in the world, and I was playing Havoc, and she was playing Destro, and we couldn't kill it, so I was like, you know what, YOLO, let me swap to the tank spec and see how it is, and we were able to kill it super easily. The spec is really, really fun. It looks really, really cool. Not as fun as Guardian for me. I think I really, really just like, again, those druid conveniences that they have. But if I was to play another tank, I think I'd probably either go Vengeance or what my next tank is going to be. I just think that they look cool thematically, and they are really fun. They're really mobile. I just love the whole look of the Demon Hunter class. I think they're really, really cool looking. And yeah, I think they'd be my second choice for a tank. Third choice would definitely be Prot Paladin. Prot Paladin is very similar to Holy Paladin, where I have classes that I enjoy more than it, but because I love the whole Paladin theme, like it would just rank decently high for me, and it is a class that I would play. I think their shield toss looks really, really cool. They have a lot of, again, similar to Holy Pally, they have a lot of oh shit, oh no cooldowns that you can tap into and use at any given time. Thematically, I do think I like the Demon Hunter a little bit more from the tanking perspective, but being a Holy Crusader of justice to defend my allies, the spec just looks sweet. Wings looks awesome. I love the fact that you can summon that like big glowing guardian guy. The spec looks solid, and it looks really, really fun, and is definitely going to be one of my preferred tank specs. In terms of the next one that we have, I think the last one is Prot. Oh, so we got two more. Prot Warrior. I don't know. Prot Warrior to me I've always thought it was pretty bland. If I was to play a tank, I don't know. I prefer the higher fantasy classes, like, you know, being the druid and having, you know, being a demon hunter, being a pally. Like, I don't know. To me, if I was to choose a tank, Prot Warrior would probably be my last choice, because to me, it's just the most bland looking. I don't think it's something I'd ever play. I think I would always play one of the other specs more. But I know it's a solid spec. It's just, I'm going to be honest, boys. It's a little, Warrior to me it's going to be really low on my tier list, because I don't find the spec or the class, just like in terms of spell effects and just general theme, I'm just not the biggest fan of it. I've also tried to get into Warrior multiple times, and I just haven't been able to get into it. And so for that reason, I have probably all the Warrior specs ranked low. So for me, Prot's going to be an F. Blood DK is going to be very, very close to Prot Pala. I love Death Knights. I think Death Knights thematically are one of the coolest classes in the game. I don't know if I'd play it over the Prot Pala if I had to choose. I definitely think I would like the Demon Hunter more than both of those classes, but the Blood DK does look really cool. If you want to play like a sanguine type spec where you are constantly healing and constantly trying to, you know, play with your life force as you're a tank, you are going to love Blood DK. For me though, I feel like just thematically and in terms of gameplay, I would like Guardian Druid, Vengeance, and Prot Pala more, just based off of what I've seen. And yeah, so for that reason, I put Blood DK on a B. Brewmaster, I'm going to be very honest, guys. I don't know a whole lot about. From what I've seen about it, it's just not something that overly appeals to me. It appeals to me more than Prot Warrior does, but Brewmaster, I don't know. It's just never really tickled my fancy. So very similar to the reason why I ranked Holy Priest over Disc Priest, I'm going to put Brewmaster over Prot Warrior. There's just nothing about the spec that that jumps out at me, you know? Now I think the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cover Demon Hunter, Paladin, and DK, since I started those specs. Ret Paladin is the class that I want to like more than any other class. I love the, again, like I've said probably 3-4 times in this video already, I love the Paladin theme. I think it is one of my favorite themes in the game for a class. But holy shit, I hate playing Ret. It is not an enjoyable spec for me personally. It is not mobile. It has no consistent pressure. It is all about just a big burst and trying to stay on your target. Yeah, you have some pretty cool tools and the spells look great, but it's one of those specs that it feels like I want to play it in theory, but whenever I actually get my hands on the spec, I don't enjoy it. So it's not going to be an F because I actually do like it thematically. I just don't like the gameplay of the spec. So the only reason it isn't an F tier is because I do like it thematically, but I can't rank it any higher than D because I want to as well. I want to rank it higher, but I just don't like it. I really don't. Havoc Demon Hunter, I'm gonna put at a C. The reason I'm putting Havoc at a C is it is a fun spec and the skills look really cool, but it is as deep as a kiddie pool that you'd put on your front lawn. Like it is, the spec for me got pretty old pretty quick. There isn't a lot that you need to do. There's not a lot to keep track of. And while I do like the spell effects and the mobility are incredibly fun, the class looks super cool. I love the theme. It's just, I got bored of my Demon Hunter when I did play him. I got bored of him pretty quickly because I just don't feel like the spec has a lot to do. Like it would make a decent alt, like if you want to play an alt character, right? Like a Demon Hunter would be a good one because, you know, you could be so focused on your main class, but if you want something to go mess around on that's relatively straightforward and simple, bam, you just hop on a Havoc Demon Hunter, right? But for a main spec, I don't think I'd ever be able to main it because there's not a lot to think about. I generally like classes that have a little bit more to do. So for that reason, Demon Hunter just doesn't rank that high on my list. I think next I'm gonna either hit the warrior specs or the death knight specs. I think we'll do warrior next. Arms. I think arms for me is going to be an F. I tried arms a couple of times. I don't like it. I hate having negative amounts of self-healing. You obviously have like Victory Rush if you want to count that while you're questing. But for me personally, when I play a spec, I like to be able to be a little bit self-sufficient. And as an arms warrior, you need to be babysat, I think. The class is really strong. It's really good. But I just don't like being super reliant on another person to be able to keep myself alive. So for that reason, it's an F tier. And again, similar to what I said for Prot Warrior, I think the theme of the class and the effects are just a little bit boring. Now, on the other hand, with Fury, though, Fury is going to get a D because while I do have the same feelings about it that I do about Prot and Arms, it still looks cool because you can wield two-handed weapons, which just looks really sick, and you are actually able to heal yourself a little bit. So it is more... I think it's going to be more fun than Arms or Prot personally. But again, I'm just not the biggest fan of Warrior in general. So for that reason, I'm going to stick it in the D. In the D. Wow, that sounded not what I meant to say. Anyway, next spec. We're going to do Death Knight next. We're going to do Frosted Unholy DK. This is going to be tough for me because DK has a very, very special place in my heart. Because it was my first main. And I think for me, I'm going to have to put both Frost and Unholy on the B tier. They both are really, really fun specs. Frost is very simplistic, similarly to how Demon Hunter is simplistic, but I'm going to be very honest. I have such a soft spot for Frost DK because it was my first main, you know? It's like that one, you know, you guys know how it is, right? You always have a soft spot for your first main class. You know, you always have very fond memories. You always feel good about it, and you always like look at it. Even though if you don't play it anymore, you're just like, man, it was a good thing, you know? That was me with Frost DK. Like, I played Frost DK for a really, really long time. The old version of the specs was really, really cool. Over time, I think it's got a little too simple. Not that it was ever super complex or anything, but it definitely has lost some of the depth that it has had in the past. But I think thematically, it's awesome. The big burst is cool. I love the Lich King. I think it's the whole thing is super awesome. I'm actually going to move Blood over here because I would play Blood underneath these ones. But, you know, I can't rank it really any higher than B in its current iteration. Unholy, on the other hand, I like the current version of Unholy. I think it's pretty cool. The whole Festering Wound mechanic. The big thing, though, that I do miss about Unholy is that Unholy, I do feel like used to be a lot more dot focused, and it really isn't as much anymore. It's about more the whole Festering Wounds thing, so I do miss that aspect of it. Also, not the biggest fan of pet management, so I'm not going to be able to rank it higher than Frost DK personally. Frost and Unholy for me are close. I like Unholy's depth, but dislike its pet gameplay, and I like Frost's gameplay a little bit, but dislike the fact that it doesn't have as much depth. All three of the Death Knight specs, though, are all relatively close to me. It's a really, really cool class, really fun. There are things that I would play over it, but it's always going to hold a special place in my heart because it was my first main. Next, I believe Windwalker is the only monk spec I have not done yet. Windwalker, for me, I think I'm going to put on the A tier. I'm actually leveling a monk right now to play as either Mistweaver and or Windwalker. I'm not entirely sure yet, but Windwalker to me seems very much like Burst Feral. You know, you have the hybrid utility kit with being able to heal people and provide a good amount of CC. The class is mobile as hell. The chi mechanic is similar enough to combo points. A little bit different, but it is similar enough. I think it is really, really fun. I love monks thematically. I think they're really, really cool. And just the spec just looks super fun to play, honestly. I played it a bit in Mists of Pandaria when they weren't as good, and it was one of those things where I didn't play the spec for a long time, not because I didn't think it was fun, but because it was bad, so no one would take me into their group. But it was a really fun spec. I liked it a lot, and I do think that if I had one leveled up, I would actually play it, and so I am in the process of leveling one up. So I do actually think I'd probably rank it above these. I actually think if I was to reorganize this, I'd probably do it like this. Got to make sure that we have things ordered right on these tiers, so I'm actually going to probably reorganize these a wee tad. Let's do that. Okay. I think this is a lot more accurate here. Let's actually show this. There we go. All right. So yeah, that's my thoughts and feelings on Windwalker Monk. So I think the next class we're going to do, let's hit Rogue next, man. Let's hit Rogue. We got Sub, we got Outlaw, and we got Assassination. The thing with me and Rogue that's always been kind of weird is that I love Feral Druid, but I'm not a big fan of Rogue. I don't know why. It's just not a class I can get into. I've tried it a bunch of different times, and it's just not for me. So I'm gonna try to rank the specs the best I can. Assassination is going to probably be an F spec for me. I don't know if I liked it more or less than my Arms Warrior. I don't know. I'll probably go with more just because stealth had its conveniences, but it's so weird, you know? By all intents and purposes, I should like Assassination. It's got a lot of dots. It's stealthy, like Feral Druid. It's got combo points. I can't put my finger on why I didn't like it. I'm going to be very honest here. There was just something about the spec that I didn't enjoy. If I was to play a Rogue again, I probably would go with Subtlety or with Outlaw. The reason I'm putting them on D is because, again, I'm just not a big fan of Rogue as a class. I would play these over these 4 specs, but it's just not a class that overly appeals to me. Again, it's just I don't know why. It just doesn't do it for me. If I was to play a stealth class, I would just play my Feral Druid, you know? Like, I don't know, even though they're, by all intents and purposes, people are gonna say, why would you play a Feral Druid? They're just a worse rogue. It's just the conveniences and the things that Feral Druid can do that like a rogue can't, outside of just dealing damage. You know, even though as a damage dealer, rogue is superior, I like the things that Feral Druid brings to the table, like a lot, you know? I do enjoy those things. I just said like 86 times. But yeah, I can't put my finger on why I don't like rogue, but for that reason, it's just a D class for me. It's just not something I'd personally play. I've tried multiple times. I would play it more than I'd play a Ret Paladin or Warrior or the other class I have in the D tier, but there's definitely more classes that I would rank above it. Next class, we're gonna probably do Shaman last, because Shaman is the only class I legitimately have never played. So we're probably going to do Shaman dead last here. Hunter is going to be another tough one for me. I'm not the biggest fan of pets and pet-based gameplay, so for that reason, I'm not going to be obviously the biggest fan of Hunter. So I'm going to probably put BM Hunter in the D tier. I don't like a spec that is super focused around its pets. It's just not for me. I'm going to actually put Demo down here as well. I don't want to play a spec that is just like completely pet reliant and where everything is about the pets. It's just not something I enjoy. I think, you know what? I think I might put Demo a little bit higher because I like the Warlock theme. The pets are a lot more fire and forget. I think I'll do that. I think we'll put Demo as a C. But I'm just not a huge fan of the whole pet thing. I'm also not the biggest fan of Hunters thematically. They just don't really do it for me. So I really would never play a BM Hunter. It was my first class, so I do have the little bit of like love for Hunter. But when I discovered Death Knights, like once I got my Hunter to 55, I just threw him in the garbage can and made a Death Knight. But yeah, if I had to choose between a pet focused class, I would easily choose Demo over BM, and I would choose Unholy over Demo any day of the week. I like demos more thematically, and I know a lot of their pets are fire and forget, so I do enjoy that aspect of it. But BM, I don't know, doesn't really do it for me. Simple spec focused around pets. Two things I'm not the biggest fan of. So for that reason, we're gonna keep them here. The next spec is going to be Marksman. Marksman, I don't know. I don't really care about the spec. I know that sounds terrible. It just doesn't do anything for me. I know a lot of people that play it and that really like it, but I am just not a fan of Hunter. I don't know why. I'd play this over a BM Hunter, but it's not something that I would ever really choose to play. If I was to play a Hunter, I would absolutely play Survival. 100% would play Survival. So for that reason, I'm going to put Survival at a low C, because I could see myself, if I played a Hunter, playing a Survival Hunter, but I would never play Marksman or BM. I just probably would never do it. I don't know if I'd play a Survival Hunter, though, over like a Fury Warrior, Ret Paladin, or a Rogue spec. I think I would, but it's the only Hunter spec that I would really play. That's a tough one for me. That is definitely a tough one. I think I'm going to keep it at low C. Because I do think I would play it before I played one of these classes for sure. Now, we did do Demo Lock, so we are going to do the Lock specs as well. Destro Lock is a spec that I've always thought was really cool and really fun. The new spell effects for it are super solid. It is very bursty, deals an ass load of damage, and just looks really cool. So for that reason, I'm going to probably stick Demo Lock as a, or excuse me, Destro Lock as a B. I would play Affliction over it because, again, Dots gaming. So I'd be way more inclined to play an Affliction Lock before I played a Destro Lock. Destro is really cool, but the whole Affliction Lock, man, dot him up and rot him down playstyle is something that I absolutely love. Especially a cool thing with Affliction is because, like I said earlier, I am not the biggest fan of pet management. So I think being able to sacrifice the pet and just gain the skill is something that I would absolutely love to do, and something that I would do when playing an Affliction Lock. So for that reason, I think I'm going to put a Affliction Lock on A and Destro on B. I would choose Affliction over Destro any day of the week. Affliction and Shadow Priest, I just love the whole dot theme and play style. So I'm actually gonna, yeah, I'm gonna keep these here. I like this so far. I think I'm gonna move Mistweaver down to A, just because this is my main currently, these two specs right here. So I am gonna rank them above them, but these three specs right here are ones that I'm working on right now as alts. I'm also working on a Death Knight as an alt too. So but yeah, Affliction Lock, I think the dot-based gameplay is really cool. Again, you can sacrifice the pet with Grimoire Supremacy, so you don't have to worry about it. So do absolutely like Afflock. Last, we have Mage and Shaman. So Mage, I've played a little bit. I've played a little bit of Mage. Have not played that much Mage. I'll be very honest with that. If I was to play a Mage, though, I think I would probably play Frost. I'm going to put Mage. Ooh, this is tough for me. I think the way I'm going to probably do this is I'll probably put Mage at the... This is tough. Probably the lower end of B. And then I'll probably put Fire and Arcane at low C. I'd play them over a Survival Hunter, but I would probably play a Demo Luck first. I think Frost is of the 3 Mage specs, Frost is my favorite. I like how control-y Frost can be. Like, you can just ruin someone's life by just absolutely controlling the living crap out of them and just holding them in place and making them as physically angry and frustrated as possible. Like, I think some of the games that have made me the most tilted are playing either against a Mage or against a Rogue. Now, I think I could play the Mage playstyle really, really well. Rogue is just not a playstyle I'm like super good at, but I've played Mage in the past before. It's actually the class I learned to keybind on, and I really, really like Frost Mage. I think it's pretty cool. I know that you have the pet to deal with, but the pet's like not as, you don't have to worry about it as much as some of the other pet specs. And I don't know. It's just a really, really cool looking class, and I like the whole control aspect of it. Fire does look cool being as bursty as it is. But I would probably play Frost more, and I don't really know a whole lot about Arcane. Arcane always, I think, looks cool in theory, but I would sooner play Frost and Fire over over playing Arcane. I like the whole elemental themes more than I would like just playing like Arcane magic. I don't know. Mage to me is not a class I have a crap load of experience on, but if I was to play it, I would definitely play Frost. Now, the last one is Shaman. So, Shaman, Resto Shaman. I would play a Resto Shaman before I would play any of the priest healing specs. I would probably play the druid though before I played the shaman. So Resto Shaman for me is going to be a C tier. Shamans are cool looking. I like them. I think they do look awesome. But to me, I do think that Druid, Holy Pally, and Mistweaver Monk look a little bit more enjoyable. I don't know why. I can't put my finger on why I've never really played a shaman. Like the class always seems pretty cool, but there's things that I would like and enjoy more than it. It's just not something that overly appeals to me. I do think though that Resto Shaman does look pretty cool. I like the whole elemental theme using water to heal people. I think it looks really solid. But I don't know. There's just something about Shaman that doesn't really do it for me. So for that reason, I'm just gonna, keep them at a low C. I'd play it more than I'd play a Holy Priest and a Disc Priest, but I would not play it over a Resto Druid. In terms of enhancement and Ellie, I would sooner play these probably before I played a Mage or a Demo Luck. So I'm gonna stick them honestly both right here, simply because I think Ascendance looks really, really fun. You know what? I'm actually gonna probably stick Frost Mage down here. I don't think I'd play a Shaman before I play a Frost Mage. I'm gonna be very honest. I think I would. I think the Shaman specs look really cool. They look really fun, especially Ascendance. I think Ascendance is one of the things that appeals to me the most about the Shaman class. I think it looks really, really cool. But like in terms of Shaman DPS, it is always such a it's such a tumultuous spec to play, the DPS specs. You have to deal with the highs and lows of the class that Blizzard puts it through, and it's either like really, really strong or really weak. It does though look really cool thematically. The spell effects are really, really awesome. I think, you know what? I'm actually gonna put Ellie where I had I'm gonna put Ellie in Enhance up here, because I think I there's always been something that's intrigued me about a Shaman, but I've never just pulled the trigger on it. I think I would play them before I played a Boomkin, and before I would main a Demon Hunter. So for that reason, I think I'm gonna put them at the lowest end of B, because they're intriguing, but I've always been scared to put time into them, because I know this is about fun, but I'll be honest, I've always been scared to put time into Shaman DPS simply because of the fact that there's a very tumultuous class in terms of balance in World of Warcraft, and they can sometimes just be the absolute bottom of the barrel in terms of balance. So for that reason, I've always been a little scared to play one. Holy guacamole, dude, this video went really, really long. I will say, though, I think I'm relatively happy with how this tier list looks. Obviously, I'm going to be super biased, and my current main is going to be my S tier. I mean, if my main wasn't my S tier, then I would have a problem. But yeah, so just to recap a bit, Druid is just one of my favorite classes in the game. I think it's really, really cool. I love the tanking on a Druid, and I love Feral Druid. I just think that they look really, really fun. These A tier specs are specs that I am either leveling as alts or would have interest in. The B tier specs are very similar, where they're specs that I've either played in the past and have really, really liked, or are specs that I am currently leveling. I'm actually leveling up a DK right now. The DK is really, really fun, and again, most of it's the reason I didn't rank it above, like, let's say Shadow Priest or Affliction Lock. You know what? I actually think I'm gonna have to make one swap, boys. I think we're gonna have to make one swap. I think I'm gonna actually move the DK DPS to really, really low A, and put Shadow Priest behind it. I think this is gonna be our list here. We're actually gonna shuffle this around. I know I was like just talking. I think I'm gonna do it this way. This is something I'm definitely more comfortable with this. Let me bang. Okay, now I'm done. So S tier is basically my current main. A tier for me, these are classes that I'm currently leveling as alts. Like I'm leveling a Mistweaver / Windwalker monk right now. If I play my Demon Hunter, I'll definitely play Vengeance, just because I don't know. Havoc doesn't really do it for me. The class looks really cool and it's really fun, but I don't know. Havoc just is a little bland to me, and I have actually been really enjoying tanking recently, and I think Vengeance looks really, really cool from a tank perspective. DK, it just always has such a soft spot in my heart. I just love it because it was my old main of the past. It was such a good time. I would probably sooner play either my Demon Hunter or my Monk before it, but it is a really, really fun spec. Affliction, Warlock, and Shadow Priest are two of the big dot boys in the game. I do like melee, though, more than I like casters, so I'm ranking some of the melee a bit higher, but they're both incredibly fun specs. Holy Paladin is probably my second healer of choice behind Mistweaver Monk. B tier, these are classes that I would be interested in playing and have played before. You know, maybe I have tried before, but haven't really dipped into it too much. C tier is classes that either don't really interest me or I've tried and don't like. D tier is classes that either don't interest me or I don't like. And F tier is just I would never play this. But this is my current tier list for fun. I know it went on really, really long because I did rank every class in the game. But this is currently my list. Now, if you guys had to rank your own list, though, let me know in the comments below what you would do. What do you think of my list? Are there any specs that maybe you agree with that you like, or you disagree with that you don't like? Let me know. If you guys did like this tier list, if you have like the fun ones this week, I know this one went on really long though, but smack a like on it. Subscribe to keep up to date with the WoW content on the channel. And yeah, I think that's all I got today. This was a fun video to make, and I appreciate you guys watching it. So thank you so much for stopping by. I very much appreciate it. As always, I'm Dots Gaming, and I'll see you all in the next one.